In a world first, the UK medicines regulator has approved a therapy that uses the CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing tool as a treatment. The decision marks another high point for biotechnology that has been lauded as revolutionary in the decade since its discovery. The therapy, called Casgevy, will treat the blood condition sickle cell anemia. The approval by Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, or MHRA, follows promising results from clinical trials that tested a one-time treatment, which is administered by intravenous infusion. The therapy was developed by pharmaceutical company Vertex Pharmaceuticals in Boston, Massachusetts, and biotechnology company CRISPR Therapeutics in Zug, Switzerland. Casgevy uses the gene editing tool CRISPR, the developers of which won the Nobel Prize in Chemistry in 2020. Clinicians administer Casgevy by taking blood-producing stem cells out of the bone marrow of people with either disease, and using CRISPR-Cas9 to edit the genes encoding hemoglobin in those cells. The gene editing tool relies on an RNA molecule that guides the Cas9 enzyme to the correct region of DNA, which the enzyme cuts. Highlighting a story from AlaskaBeacon.com, the United States ocean territory could expand by an area more than twice the size of California, with most of that in ocean areas off Alaska, under a claim being prepared by the federal government. The U.S. State Department this month announced results of a 2-decade program to map the extended continental shelf areas beyond the nation's 200-mile exclusive economic zone. Much of the focus was on the Arctic Ocean, where bathymetric and geologic surveys by federal agencies produced the first detailed maps of a complex seafloor with a series of canyons, ridges, and deep-sea plateaus. In all, the mapping reveals that the U.S. has rights to an additional 987,700 square kilometers, an area about twice the size of California, according to the State Department. Of that, more than half, 520,400 square kilometers, is in the Arctic Ocean, beyond the 200-mile exclusive economic zone off Alaska's North Slope. There are also claims in the works to territory off the Atlantic and Pacific coasts, the Gulf of Mexico, and the Mariana Islands area. The continental shelf is the extension of a country's land territory under the sea. Like other countries, the United States has rights under international law to conserve and manage the resources and vital habitats on and under its ECS. The State Department said in its December 19th announcement, the CTA Yellow Line is still shut down. Highlighting a story from WGNTV.com, more than a month after the CTA Yellow Line train hit a piece of snow removal equipment, sending more than a dozen people to the hospital, the line remains closed, and the transit agency won't say when it may reopen. National Transportation Safety Board investigators are back at the scene this week performing accident reconstruction. NTSB's preliminary investigation of the November 16th crash indicated the braking distances programmed into the CTA's signaling system may not have been long enough. The finding prompted the CTA to examine pre-programmed systems on all of its rail lines, and the agency said it determined the potential flaws unique to the Yellow Line. Investigators say the train operator immediately engaged braking systems when signals indicated there was danger ahead. The train slowed from 54 miles to 27 miles per hour at the moment of impact. CTA President Dorval Carter told the agency's oversight board last week that engineers were focused on implementing mitigation efforts. The trailblazing longtime U.S. Representative Eddie Bernice Johnson has died. A nurse from Texas who helped bring hundreds of millions of federal dollars to the Dallas area as the region's most powerful Democrat died Sunday. She was 88. Highlighting a story from Forbes.com, homicides are seeing historic decline in 2023, despite perceptions that crime is on the rise. After the pandemic brought historic spikes in murders, the U.S. is poised to finish the year with a historic drop in homicides and drops in other crime categories, a finding that conflicts with public perceptions that crime is on the rise. Murders are down 12.8% over the last year, across more than 175 cities, according to criminal justice data analyzed by the firm Analytics, with Analytics co-founder, the data analyst Jeff Asher, recently writing on Substack that the data suggests the U.S. murders are on the pace to log one of the fastest rates of decline ever recorded this year. Major cities, which some commentators have in recent years portrayed as overrun by crime, have seen significant declines in homicides, including double-digit declines in New York at 11.42%, Los Angeles at 15.4%, and Chicago at 12.7%.
And that was MFN News for you. Are you looking for a way to be creative right now? Have you ever wanted to learn to watercolor paint? You can now do that from the comfort of your own home with Zoom watercolor classes. Get professional instruction from nationally showing artist Victoria Elizabeth. These classes are step-by-step, broken down with easy-to-understand instructions. They're affordable too, at $15 for a 2-hour class. Visit her website at victoriaelizabethart.com to find out more. That's victoriaelizabethart.com.
Every year in Illinois, over 30,000 drivers are arrested for DUI. Due to improper testing procedures, many people end up being wrongfully charged. The book DUIs Decoded cuts right to the chase and tells you how proper DUIs arrests are supposed to be made, from the initial traffic stop to the reasoning behind the field sobriety test, all the myths and facts about taking a breathalyzer, and more. DUIs Decoded is written by nationally recognized DUI expert witness William Polarinos. Available now at Amazon and BarnesandNoble.com.
The views and opinions in the following show do not necessarily reflect that of this station or its ownership.
Welcome to a political talk show right here on 1590 WCGO, brought to you by the Multi-Format Network. My name is Dennis Sonar Green. You can find me at Sonic Engineer. You can find the show at _political show on the same platform, X, Twitter, right there. This is a show about politics where we try as hard as we can to take out the politics. I know that's confusing, but let me break that down just a little bit more. With me and my esteemed executive producer, Ben Boquist. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Yes, and again, thank you for keeping me esteemed, man.
Yeah, esteemed, the best.
Yes, happy to be doing this show again. It's awesome. And yeah, we take the apolitical thing, and in saying that, it's not that we're not giving our opinions. It's just that, you know, this is fully our own opinions. I'll say that I'm not an expert in pretty much anything except for producing media. So,
but you are an American.
But I'm American,
and that's the point that we try to make here.
I'm an expert at telling the truth.
There you go.
How about that?
And pointing out the truth. Yeah. I mean, seeing where your information comes from. What are the ingredients? What is the nutrition of your media diet? We are here to help you read the labels as best as we can to kind of keep it in that same thing. But yes, a political talk show. You can find us out there in the world. Just search a political talk show, all one word, or separated if you'd like. But we are on your favorite podcasting platform. We are working on getting the smart speakers to automatically kick over as well, where you just say Google, play a political talk show. But you can always say Google, play WCGO, and WCGO will come right up. This is our home. This is our flagship. This is where we broadcast from live every day, 1 to 2 right now. We'll see how the new year goes.
It's nice. It's cool, right? We're on the radio right now. How about that?
That's it. On the radio, on the Twitch, on the YouTubes now.
All platforms.
All platforms, including, like I said, your favorite podcasting platform. We're trying to push that up as much as we can this year. But thank you all for being here with us. I hope you had a fantastic new year. I hope you had some time off. If you want to watch us on Twitch, like we said, twitch.tv/multi-format network, you can see the polar bears brought to you by the San Diego Zoo. Thank you, San Diego Zoo, for giving us this live feed so that you don't just get to see two white guys complain about politics. You can listen to two white guys complain about politics, but see polar bears, ironically, just as white. But this year, we're going to have a lot more voices. Darian Sims is going to come back as well. I'm working on a schedule for him. If you want to listen to any of those shows, they are archived there. We've also got Jamie Burrows coming back over. And Dan Johnson is going to come back over. And what I really wanted to pick his brain about, because he is an Illinois lobbyist, where do lobbyists come from in this, or fit in the year of politics that we've got for 2024? So lots of great things. Also, we're working on a series. We love our amendments over here, and we want you to be abreast of what the amendments mean, what your rights are. We read or at least I read a disturbing statistic that only 39% of all Americans can even just name the 3 branches of government. So it's one of those things that if you don't know the 3-point shot exists, but you're still watching basketball, you're going to be pretty mad that somebody's getting more points than somebody else. So let's dive into the rules. Let's figure out the strategies that are all happening around. That is what a political talk show is. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into some of the news. The biggest news I want to get into is the train wreck that is the literal train wreck of the Yellow Line here in Chicago, the Skokie Swift, as they say, all the way from Howard to, I think it goes, to Maine? From there?
All the way up to past Maine.
The
last
it was Oakton?
I'm on Central, and there's
or Dempster.
2 or 3.
Yeah, it goes Dempster,
That's a purple
Oakton.
line. I don't take the yellow line, but
no, not too often. I have taken it, when you want to avoid a DUI.
there you go. Always a good reason to use the CTA, and it's still down. It's still those people are having to take Ubers and buses, or simply not drink.
Buses. They do have buses, and you get a little voucher if you're taking the yellow. So it was the same thing when the Brown Line had a bunch of construction a couple of years back. They had a bus that ran the Brown Line. So, I mean, it's 3 stops on the Skokie Swift. So it's not too meddlesome. I mean,
at the end of the day, you want to be sure that it's safe and working effectively, and
it's still under investigation. If you've got a little bit of verbiage there to read,
highlighting this article from WGN TV, they're covering this pretty well. I've seen updates again to talk about this story. There's a piece of snowplow equipment on the tracks of the Yellow Line. There was a Yellow Line train going that way, crashed into it around the Howard stop. And since that, they've come out and had an investigation for more than a month. Here highlighting that article from WGN TV. More than a month after a CTA Yellow Line train hit a piece of snow removal equipment, sending more than a dozen people to the hospital, the line remains closed, and the transit agency won't say when it may reopen. So the details of the crash, investigators say the train operator immediately engaged the braking system when the signals indicated there was a danger ahead. The train slowed from 54 miles per hour to 27 miles per hour at the moment of impact. So they're saying that basically the train just wasn't equipped to stop in the amount of time that it should have been.
Yeah.
And due to this happening, they've checked to make sure that other trains can and don't have that problem. But apparently it's something that's just unique to the Yellow Line rail. So
the braking system is?
Yes, or that, or
well, the incline definitely is.
Right.
I mean, the only other incline that I know that's that steep is when the Brown Line goes, the Red Line goes underground.
Yeah, that's something that you'd think they'd factor in too.
Yeah, well, also probably not putting snowplows on active tracks.
Yes,
would have been I wouldn't say a better, but it at least is an operational safety.
Right. And then now, just talking about this, let me ask you the question. Just talking between you and I, thinking about what could have caused this, or what is to be done to prevent these things from happening. What do you think? Is it oversight? Is it
Well, I think there was some safety checks. That's usually what you go for first. I mean, the equipment change and things like that, that is always a monstrous thing, and it costs money to do it. So usually to save money and to still be safe, you put in these safety checks. And the way I would do it, and I'm sure they do it as well, is there are active rails and there are just loading rails or stationary rails or secondary rails, however they want to call it. And you shouldn't put anything on without those checks. So in the Navy, if I had to do something with electrical, if I had to do something with any pipes, if I had to do anything, I had to go to a single person with paperwork and say, hey, I'm working on this section right here. And they said, okay, here are the 3 things that you need to tag out so that nothing bad happens while you're doing these checks. That way, even if somebody comes over, they see that tag sitting there, and therefore they're not going to flip that switch or do this thing, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that may be the system that broke down first.
That's where my brain went too. Yeah.
And we got a plow on an active place that wasn't logged as an active place, and then the system didn't know. I mean, the issue with automation, to take it back even then, to keep the trains running on time, right, is the whole automation system with it. And if you don't tell the automation system not to use that track, or that track has something on it, or what have you, I think there were some checks that were missed from there. That's before you get to why didn't it break with the amount of time. So now that would be the next safety feature, is how do we stop these trains? I mean, we all want them to go. That's their whole purpose, is to move and go. But where do we break down, okay, what is a reasonable amount of time for a train to stop? And then I would take that number and say, okay, these are the red zones of where you're never allowed to put anything because the train doesn't stop fast enough and the conductor won't be able to see that there is something in the way. And that's where the red zone comes in, but it goes back to operational side. If you don't adhere to the red zones, if you don't adhere to your system, that's when you're going to break it down. And I think that's really what it is. I don't think they're going to look for any mechanical stuff in this investigation. I think they're looking more in procedurally what broke down in this system.
Yep, it's like we harp on this all the time. We use automation all the time.
Yeah,
we're radio guys who are still doing it, so but we use automation. And the thing we harp on is just you can't get complacent. It's not set it, forget it. It's set it and maintain
and watch it. Yeah,
watch it
happen. So, and then that's the other thing, is how many people saw this thing on the track, because that's really what it is. It was something on the track that shouldn't have been on the track.
Yeah.
Whether the track was bad or the placement was bad or they left it here or whatever it was. I mean, either way, something was in the way of a train. That's it. How many people saw that and were like, wait a minute, what is this? Should this be here? Isn't that where the yellow line comes down? So
yeah,
I don't know.
True matter-of-fact case of obstruction.
Yeah, it's literally an obstruction in the middle of the track. So it's there. Quickly before we go, you said there was earthquakes and plane crashes. Which one do you want to do first?
Yes. I guess we'll just tease that before. I got a little video.
Okay.
We got time. We got a minute. So what happened in Japan, earthquake right on the first, and then in the next day there was a plane crash. 2 planes crashed into each other. Unfortunately, the Coast Guard of Japan plane and a passenger plane collided, and there's just a massive fire.
Wow.
Everyone in the Coast Guard plane unfortunately perished, and everyone in the passenger plane got away.
Wow. Well, I'll let you tee that up over the break. We'll go to that here in just a few moments. Thanks for sticking with us. Apolitical Talk Show, 1590 WCGO. From Chicago train wrecks to Japanese plane wrecks?
Train wrecks, plane wrecks.
What's a wreck
earthquakes,
versus
tsunamis.
crash? I mean, it's different. Either way, 1590 WCGO, multi-format network, a political talk show. We'll be right back. If you have been charged with driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs in Cook County, DuPage County, or Lake County, Illinois, call the law office of Mark Sheblow at 773-775-5050. That's 773-775-5050. Attorney Mark Sheblow has over 29 years of law experience handling DUI defense, traffic violations, CDL violations, and Secretary of State driver's license reinstatement hearings. All aspects of your case will be examined in order to find evidence that may help your case, especially the statutory summary suspension of your driving privileges. If your breath alcohol concentration level at the time of the DUI arrest is 0.08 or more, then the summary suspension of your driver's license begins 46 days after the arrest. Time is a crucial factor in challenging the summary suspension of your driver's license. Our law office is located at 5945 North Elston Avenue in Chicago. That's 5945 North Elston Avenue in Chicago. And again, our office phone number is 773-775-5050.
Why? Why take a chance? Why risk a mistake? Why say something? We all have reasons why we choose to ignore the things that give us pause, that seem out of place, that don't feel right. The word why can either paralyze us or empower us to stand up and protect what we love. So if you see something, why do you say something?
I see safe for my family.
I see safe for my friends.
I see say for my students.
We see say for each other.
I see safe because all of this matters.
We all have something worth protecting, a why that unifies this community we're all a part of. So protect your everyday. Report suspicious activity to local authorities. If you see something, say something.
It's really fun.
It's easy.
I'm really glad I helped.
There's nothing like our Great Lakes beaches for year-round outdoor fun, but we do need to protect them. Thanks to Adopt a Beach cleanups, more of our shorelines are being kept healthier, safer, and beautiful. The Alliance for the Great Lakes wants you to join this movement with thousands of volunteers. Learn how at greatlakes.org/adopt.
It's just something that's so important.
Beach cleanups are fun and make a huge difference to our Great Lakes and all they offer. Countless pounds of litter end up on our beaches each year. About 85% of that is plastic. With your help, we're cleaning it up. Bring yourself or come with a friend. Community groups, schools, businesses, everyone is welcome. You can make a difference and have a lot of fun doing it. Go to greatlakes.org/adopt and join us on the beach.
The Great Lakes! Yay!
Welcome back to A Political Talk Show, 1590 WCGO, brought to you by the Multi-Format Network. My name is Dennis Sonar Green. I am here with the best political talk show executive producer in all of the lands. That would be Ben Demonium Boquest. Thank you, sir, for being here.
Yes, of course, man. Yeah, no, great times. As always, it's the first show of the year. We're going to just, date it again. I like to keep us doing live shows, so I'll ruin the evergreenness of any time I can.
There you go. That's it. And to not ruin the show and keep it moving, he keeps us on track. And we are talking about things that have gone off track. Hopefully, 24 will stay with us. I mean, I know it's a political year, and we're trying not to get too into the politics right away. There is a lot I know that's out there. We have some things we wish to talk about later, but there's time. I mean, that's it. We're not trying to we're not trying to sit here and just throw everything into 1 hour and say, here you go, we'll see you next week. We are trying to get the discussion to you. I don't want to sit here and just run down the headlines. we have to discuss these things so that we can either prepare for the next time these headlines come around, prevent these headlines. I mean, there's so many different ways and why this discussion and these discussions are helpful. So we'll go right into the next one. We just did Chicago. So now let's go to a different skyline in Japan. And I guess you've got a video ready for me. Now, is this for the earthquake or is this the plane crash? Now, did the earthquake cause the plane crash? That's what I'm confused of.
No.
Okay.
I don't know how you got
two separate
that,
things.
That in your old head there. This is this is the video that they have of the ensuing carnage of the planes that collided at an airport in Japan after the earthquake. So to go back, this on the first of the year they suffered 2 earthquakes at least that I heard about. Might have been more. One of a 7.6 magnitude on the Richter scale, which is huge.
Yeah, it is.
Ensuing tsunami warnings. No real news about that. Nothing catastrophic as far as tsunamis being reported. But after that, this happened just today. A large passenger plane, this is highlighting an article from apnews.com, a large passenger plane and a Japanese Coast Guard aircraft collided on the runway at Tokyo's Haneda Airport on Tuesday and burst into flames, killing 5 people aboard the Coast Guard plane, officials say. All 379 people on Japan Airlines flight JAL 516 got out safely before the Airbus 350 was fully engulfed in flames. So that's what the video you're seeing.
Yeah.
Scary sight. Unfortunate loss for the Coast Guard. And
do you think this was another operational mishap?
That's the link between those two stories, I believe. Is again especially in times of crisis where you're moving as fast as you can, and you're trying to. They were. I didn't mention this. The Coast Guard was going to earthquake recovery or to help with that, all that stuff. So in times when you're rushing for that stuff, a lot of the details can get lost in the mix, or just
especially
overall.
2 different agencies.
Mm-hmm.
You got the military agency that's talking to somebody, and then you've got the commercial agency that's doing the other thing.
Sure. Yeah, and you think Japan, they're a smaller nation, or at least island in general, not as much geography, so maybe that's why they're on the same tarmac kind of thing. But yeah, it's a sad thing. Thank God the large plane, everybody got off that thing.
Yeah,
that's a miracle there.
That looks nasty. The flames coming out of the windows and everything else. And if you want to learn more, go to the Associated Press for that. So it's be on your toes. There's a lot that's going to happen this year. So crises are going to happen. Things are going to be misplaced. So our whole theme behind these articles here is to just stay vigilant. A lot of things are going to get thrown at us this year. Falsehoods, truths, just big carjackings. Lots of things are happening. But you're right. Crime in general is going down as far as like murders and things. Everybody talks about, the murderous Chicago. The crime rates that are all the violent crimes. Now, yes, carjackings are up. You're absolutely right. I already spoke with Bill Pellerinos about this as well. Carjackings are up. But the rest of the crimes are going down. I mean, even as far as armed robbery, I believe, is going down. But you've got those stats sitting in front of you right there, Benjamin. Go ahead and give me that.
I do. Forbes.com was nice enough to put together this article about.
Thank you, Forbes.
Thanks, Forbes. For the homicides see historic decline in 2023, despite perception that crime is on the rise. That's a popular narrative we hear. It's really like the number one thing that anybody says almost ever when you talk about gun safety and control and like crime in general.
That and then the immigration
Chicago-
or anything else, right? I mean, all those violent crimes are everywhere. And this coming from Forbes. Forbes leans right. I believe they are mixed factuality, if not high factuality. And this is coming from Forbes itself. I mean, Forbes is as right as Business Insider is left.
Sure, yeah. Fair, I'd say. But yeah, this article, after the pandemic brought historic spikes in murders, the U.S. is poised to finish with the year with a historic drop in homicides and drops in other crime categories, finding that conflicts with public perception that crime is on the rise. So here are the stats here. Murders are down 12.8% over last year across more than 175 cities. According to criminal justice data analyzed by the firm AH Analytics. And here's the numbers for three of the largest cities, included double-digit declines in New York, 11.4%, LA 15% down, and Chicago down 12%. And the FBI findings also that the other 9 categories of violent crimes are down as well.
Nationwide, right?
Yes, except carjackings, which are up. So,
which, I mean, of all the inflationary things and all the other things that are actually holding their value, cars are it. Cars in this economy are pretty much holding their value, if not going up in some cases.
Yeah.
There were a lot of, what was it? Early in 23, I believe it was actually vans were getting a big bump and holding their value.
I'm listening. Yeah, no, vans are hot.
Yeah, absolutely. You bought a van in 23.
That I did.
Yeah, so
Van man.
I mean, 50% of us right here taking a poll, 50% of us bought vans in 23.
Yeah.
See, that's it. Anybody can make a poll, guys.
That leads to my question, though. Is this data somewhat skewed because of the large jump during COVID?
I bet, yeah, large jump during COVID, absolutely. I mean, there's the old adage from Bob Marley, a hungry man is an angry man.
Sure.
And I could believe that. I could believe that there were a lot of troubling times. There were a lot of things to be scared about during the pandemic. People had a lot of time on their hands as well. I mean, if you listen to Styx, Too Much Time on My Hands, right? I'm surprised I'm not a criminal. Is one of the lyrics in that. So we'll just quote as many musicians as we can about crime and things. But that's really where it is. And now that the economy is stronger, we have had, what did they say, 22 months of unemployment being under 4%, despite the Fed saying the only way to stay away from a recession is for unemployment to go up. And now they're talking about lowering the rates again because we're we're getting towards an economic boom. Now, I get it. Everybody's in their car right now screaming at me, Ben. They're going, oh, groceries, eggs.
Economic boom.
But look. Look at 2 years ago where gas prices were almost 5 bones nationwide, right?
5 bones.
5 bones right here. You want a gallon of gas? You got a bag? Here you go. 5 bones. So that's it. Now we're at an average of 3 something with, I think there was over 20 states that are under 250. So there's,
Brandon
I have to check that. But that's the thing is you turn around and you blame Biden or whatever on the gas prices going up. Are you not going to give him accolades when it does better? We are producing in the United States more oil than any other country in the history of time.
Yay.
Since we have been manufacturing oil and pulling it from the ground.
Number one.
United States is number one right now. And now, drill, baby, drill. Like, okay, look, how can we set these records without new drilling rigs?
Yeah.
See, this is where the facts start to break down the narratives. Yes, drill, baby, drill. Oh, we need more money. We need more money. That's the way our economic system is put. Now, would I like it different? Absolutely. But we're just going to get off on tangents on that. Let's just talk about the way it is now. Donald Trump opened up our oil to be sold to other countries. That's essentially what started this war, this price war going back and forth, Saudi Arabia, Russia, etc. Ukraine changes, Biden comes in, and that just shocked the oil system. Biden, through his policies and everything else, has asked them to ramp it up. Now, this is still a business decision. It wasn't the legislation, wasn't easing of whatever. This was them deciding, okay, let's turn it up. So now we produce more. We're not going to see groceries go down. Everybody wants pre-pandemic prices for things. I'm sorry. That is not how our system works. Inflation is the constant rate of increase. That's what you have to understand. It's not going to go back down. That's just the way that it works.
Constant.
Yes, that's the way capitalism works.
Yeah, we're at the point, it's like taking a pay decrease,
Yeah, GDP, everything else.
That's why I have a union.
That's just also the way a fiat currency runs. So there's a bunch of different factors that have against us for high inflation. Also, of all of the G7 nations, we have the lowest inflation rate right now. And it has decreased even lower. Oh my gosh, what is it? Over the last couple months, I think it has gone into the single digits. So yes, would you like to be paid more? Yes, everyone wants to be paid more. Would I like prices to come down? Yes, everybody wants prices to come down. This is where the policies and your involvement with your own business unions and unionization of voting for the right people to put your policies in and your best interests in front of it. Mm-hmm. So I'm sorry. Eggs are expensive. That's what inflation is. Yeah. Also, a big outbreak of bird flu at the exact same time.
Yeah. Well, now we have concrete, reasons to fight for unionization and, or at least, being aware of these things.
And low unemployment breeds low crime and violent crimes and robbery and everything else, because a hungry man is an angry man.
Raise the minimum wage.
Hey, that is another thing that just kicked off. We can talk about that, absolutely. I think there's like 22 different states that have not done any state raise, so there's still, federally, it's still 7-something. So I think it's still as low as it was when I joined the workforce. Working at the McD's.
Yeah. Oh man.
No, I was getting paid 5-something, I think.
Yeah,
5
I remember
or 6.
being paid around $5 something for my first job.
But here in Illinois, it went up. There's also a federal plan. If we're just putting things that we've read out to the world, there's a federal plan to raise it up to 17-something, up to 2030. Or somewhere around there. So we'll look into that a little bit more as we go through the year. Coming up on the next segment, we are going to be talking about the litigation that was just put into the International Court of Justice from South Africa against what they're calling the genocide in Gaza right now. That's what they're calling it. They've brought it up to the International Court of Justice. We'll be talking more about that. We'll be talking about South Africa's history of apartheid and why I think they are one of the strongest candidates to get this ceasefire going. That's what we want. Anybody with a microphone should be calling for that ceasefire. 1590 WCGO, a political talk show. We'll be right back.
Polar Bear Sploots.
Your driving privileges are important to your livelihood. You need your driver's license to drive to work, get the kids to school, or go shopping. Your driving privileges are crucial for your lifestyle. If your driver's license is suspended, call attorney Mark Sheblo at 773-775-5050 to begin procedures to have your driver's license reinstated by the Illinois Secretary of State's office. That phone number for Mark Sheblo is 773-775-5050. Mark Sheblo is an attorney with over 29 years of experience. Call him today at 773-775-5050. Visit his website at sheblolawoffice.com. That's SCIBLO lawoffice.com.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
If you have been charged with driving under the influence of alcohol or drugs in Cook County, DuPage County, or Lake County, Illinois, call the law office of Mark Sheblo at 773-775-5050. That's 773-775-5050. Attorney Mark Sheblo has over 29 years of law experience handling DUI defense, traffic violations, CDL violations, and Secretary of State driver's license reinstatement hearings. All aspects of your case will be examined in order to find evidence that may help your case, especially the statutory summary suspension of your driving privileges. If your breath alcohol concentration level at the time of the DUI arrest is 0.08 or more, then the summary suspension of your driver's license begins 46 days after the arrest. Time is a crucial factor in challenging the summary suspension of your driver's license. Our law office is located at 5945 North Elston Avenue in Chicago. That's 5945 North Elston Avenue in Chicago. And again, our office phone number is 773-775-5050. Welcome back to A Political Talk Show right here on 1590 WCGO. Thank you, Multi-Format Network, for distributing us digitally, while 1590 WCGO distributes us terrestrially. If you're listening on either of those platforms, you can always find us at facebook.com/A Political Talk Show, or if you are one of these X, Twitter, or just X. I mean, at what point are we just going to just switch over to X?
I like always saying X Twitter.
X Twitter?
Because it's apt. You know,
It's true.
X Twitter.
But
It is
the
just X.
brand, they're destroying the brand. After they abandon Twitter, can they just go, can I fire up Twitter after it's officially X?
Right. That is the question.
I guess not. I guess he owns that brand, can use it whatever he wants to. But if you want to find us there on that platform, you can find me at Sonic Engineer. You can find my executive producer, Ben Demonium Boquest, at Ben Demonium. And you can find the show at _political show. Thank you for listening to us now in whatever form that you have chosen. It's kind of like the Ghostbusters, right? Pick the form of your of your destroyer. But we're not going to do that. We're going to destroy your precognitions of everything right in. Did somebody come into the studio?
Someone's in the lobby.
Oh, okay. Well,
let me go check.
Thank you, person in the lobby. Thanks
they
for
can hear us
listening
through
as
the
well.
monitor. So, listener, call in 877-711-5611.
Right there. He's going to go check it out. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about South Africa. South Africa has filed a case in the International Court of Justice against Israel, alleging that Israel is committing genocidal acts in Gaza. This application to the ICJ concerns alleged violations of Israelis' obligations under the Geneva Convention. South Africa accusation is that the extent of death, destruction, and the humanitarian crisis in the Gaza Strip meets the threshold of the 1948 Genocide Convention. Now let's think about this 1948 date as well as we go on. The case focuses on the actions of Israel and claims that they are intended to bring about the destruction of a substantial part of the Palestinian national, racial, and ethnical group. So that's essentially what they are alleging. They have filed this out. What did they do this weekend, or they did it at the beginning of the year? Ben, somewhere around there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's about the timeline recently.
This legal action follows South Africa's previous referral to another court, the International Criminal Court, relating to alleged war crimes by Israel in Gaza. The ICC investigates and tries individuals charged with genocide, war crimes, and crimes against humanity, but Israel does not recognize the ICC. Is the other thing. I mean, this is it. We all have agreements as a globe. That's what we do. We say, hey, look, I know we can't say this and we can't put laws in your country. You can do what you need to do to maintain your own stuff. You have sovereign rights as a nation, as a recognized nation. And that's what it is. We all have to recognize each other in that thing. And I think that's what the biggest issue of the two-state solution has always been as well, to kind of put a little bit of context to what we're talking about here. Is the two-state solution has always been the sticking point. If two sides are saying, well, we want this land and we don't want the other person to exist, and I'm talking both Hamas and let's call them the Zionists. Let's go from there. Let's be a little bit more accurate instead of just like demonizing an entire nation.
It is being seen. A lot of citizens in Israel are pushing back. A lot of young people are refusing to sign up and deferring. And it's not 100% popular over there.
Use your voice. If you live in a democracy, if you live in an autocracy, if you live in a dictatorship, whatever it is, your voice and the voices of those around you are what the real strength is. Violence, never should be the mode. It should not.
It only begets violence.
Absolutely, it does. And that's essentially what I wanted to talk about, how ironic it is that South Africa is the one that's bringing this up.
I would say apt, yeah.
Apt, yeah, there you go. That's a great word for it. South Africa's history of apartheid and its own journey towards justice and reconciliation provide a unique perspective and expertise in the context of genocide litigation against Israel at the International Court of Justice. Apartheid in South Africa was a system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination that existed in 1948, there's that number again, until the early 1990s. This period was marked by severe human rights violations, including the suppression of the majority black population by the minority white government. So this is a lot of what we've heard complaints coming out of Gaza to begin with. And if you want to go all the way into Netanyahu and how he was able to actually get his position, for the longest time, I think it took 4 election cycles for him to finally have the majority, according to Israel law, of him to actually being the prime minister. Well, for him to actually get over the threshold, he had to make a couple deals. And one of those deals is with his, I think it's his Secretary of Settlement. And according to the Geneva Convention, you cannot just start settling somebody else's territory. It's like if the U.S. government came in, gave me $100 a day to go live in Mexico. And for me to go in, kick whoever was in there already, not buy the house, kick them out, and me live there.
A Baja Blast.
Exactly, a Baja Blast. That's it. That's what has been happening in the occupied territory of Gaza. And we say that because Gaza is a recognized, and we're back to that recognition, Gaza is a recognized territory, just like the West Bank is a recognized territory. Somebody being inside of that, occupying that is not part of Palestine or Gaza or the West Bank or part of anything like that, is occupied. That's the way it works. Occupied territory of Ukraine by the Russians, the same concept, occupied territory at that point. So the biggest issue here is there's a lot of similarities to what South Africa has gone through in the history of apartheid in South Africa and what is happening in Gaza, or what has been happening in Gaza even before the horrendous things that happened in October, which I have to still say, it was horrendous. Do not think that I'm like, oh, no, it was inevitable that they... No. Violence is not inevitable.
Yeah.
Please use your words like grown-ups.
One of the best things to say in response to that attitude of when people automatically assume that admonishing Israel is somehow support for Hamas, which has never been my position, and I don't think is most people who are in the camp of admonishing what's happening right now don't do that. But the thing is, if they're gonna take that as cue, like who is like in power, who is really in power if you're going to be reactive to that, like who is driving the agenda? You're basically saying that it is Hamas that is making you do these things, who's effectively driving the narrative. So
yeah, and what
kind of an idea is that?
What would you do if you had 2 young children in the back seat and somebody keeps punching the other one, saying he's making me do it.
Simple as that, yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, if you can't explain something simply, you don't understand it. Thank you, Einstein, for bringing that.
They're making me be reactionary.
And that's a lot of what this is. So you're right. It is a terrible system that they're doing, and that's what it is. Apartheid in South Africa was characterized by a system of institutionalized racial segregation and discrimination against the majority black population by the majority white population. Critics of Israel's policy in the Palestinian territories point to similar patterns of control and segregation, such as the separation barrier, checkpoints, and restricted movement in the West Bank, as well as different sets of laws for Palestinians and Israeli settlers. And that's the issue, is coming back to the land disposition. If they have the 2 states and this is what they all agree on, we have to agree on the borders. What if all of a sudden Indiana says Chicago is now part of Indiana? Illinois would not recognize that and say, no, we're Illinois. We have these maps that establish what, I mean, the only reason a map works is because we all agree that it works. I mean, it's another one of these systems that is only here because we all agree that this is the reason that it works. International law, monetary systems, they are all part of that group of we all agree. Paper money, same thing. Does it have actual worth? No. Do we all believe it has worth? Yes. Same thing with maps and borders and the international community. So we all agree on things. And this is where it comes in with our democracies versus our republics. And I really don't want to get into the other sides. We're wrapping up on time, and I don't really want to beat on Israel with this because
well, what is the story then? So when do you know when the court hearings and proceedings are due to take place?
So they've already filed, and essentially what they're doing is they're waiting for that court date.
I'm curious to just what this means. Will they be able to hold anybody accountable? And
well, in response, Israel has strongly rejected the allegation, calling it baseless and accusing South Africa of giving political and legal cover to Hamas, which that's all they complain about is Hamas is using whatever for cover. This person is using this. If Hamas would just stop, we would stop.
Yeah, if you are in any way critical of us, then you are in fact for our opposition, is what their thought process is. I would assume from my
both sides are preparing for the hearing scheduled for early January. So here in the next couple weeks, they will have it in front of a hearing and then go for with the international court.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we talk about this a lot as well. The whole team politics aspects that gets brought into politics, and in this instance, it's one of those things that's super annoying that just doesn't need to exist. Like the whole growing up, it was a simpler time, and there were terrible people still, but there were those people who would deny the Holocaust, and I used to think, like, how can you deny something that's documented in facts? Like, what do you call the Holocaust? And the nothing? Like, and in that same respect, since then, there's been the apartheid and multiple other genocides that people refuse to acknowledge. And in learned societies and the culture of the education system that we've built up so much to put everybody in debt, they kind of pour over, and in my opinion, have fumbled a lot of discussion about this. And basically, it's over a little over education sometimes, where people need to people get to that point to where, oh, I need to choose this side or that side. Well, not really. Like, I feel like the facts always tell the story.
If you're given all of them.
And some people get to that black and white choice, stage in learning about something, and they think, oh, I need to be on either team black or white. Or really, it's just read the words on the page. It's the facts, and two things can be true at the same time.
They absolutely can.
They're the same thing.
And
the Holocaust happened, apartheid happened.
The way I keep putting it to people is let bad guys do bad guy things. Well, don't let them, but bad guys should be the only ones doing bad guy things. If you do bad guy things as the good guy, you're not the holy symbol, the righteous whatever that you pretend to be, because you are doing those things. And it's to that point of ceasefire, and this is where I think this, with all the vetoes that the United States keeps throwing up and everything else, I think that this is actually the fastest course of action to get to the ceasefire. Without the negotiations, without anything else, I think criminal international litigation is what's finally going to do this. And will they adhere to it or not? Will they turn around and say, well, we don't recognize those people either? So we'll see. 2024 is going to be a lot of discussions of the political side and seeing how far everything moves from political parties and things like that. Follow A Political Talk Show to be part of the information sweep, and hopefully by the end of the year we can get that number to 40% of Americans can list me off the three branches of government. Incremental. We'll go. See you tomorrow. Peace.
WCGO 1590 AM, W240EH 95.9 FM, Evanston, Chicago.